This program is brought to you by UCKG.
How was the traffic?
It's quite a lot. Yeah.
Quite a lot. And how was everything?
Yeah, it's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
For you to come here, are you happy?
Yes.
Happy. Just a minute. Hi, hello. Good evening. Finding Answers is about to start. And this evening we are talking about anger. You know someone that has anger problem, call them now and tell them to tune in. And also prepare yourself, because at the end of the program we're going to pray for you. You can call 020-7686-6300. We are waiting.
Hello and welcome to Finding Answers. Tonight we are going to be talking about a massive problem, which is anger. A lot of people find it extremely difficult to control their anger. And you know, Pastor Neil, good evening.
Good evening.
When we talk about anger, can be a very negative feeling. Yeah. Obviously, we got the two sides of anger. Anger can be very good if you channel it to the right direction. Yeah. Whereas if you use anger incorrectly, that can be devastating. We got some very important informative facts which we would like to share with you. According to a study by mental health charity Boiling Point, almost 32% of people in the study say they have a close friend or family members who has trouble controlling anger. More than 1 in 4 people say they worry about how angry they sometimes feel. This is crazy, Pastor Neil. A lot of people do suffer with anger issues. And you know, when you've got an anger issue and you can't control it, you can harm people. Yeah. You can kill people. Yeah. You can devastate lives.
Because anger is like a bomb. You know, that bomb that it is just waiting to explode. And this is what has been happening. And many people, they said, I want to overcome my anger problem, but I don't know how to overcome this problem. And this is what we are talking about in this evening.
Yes, if you keep watching this program, you know, this program may help you to find the answer as to why you can't control your anger issues. Of course, we cannot guarantee that, you know, your anger issues will be totally under control, because obviously this is not down to the program, but it's obviously down to you. However, if you stay tuned with us until the very end of the show, you will feel much better and you will discover, you know, a very good method as to how you can control your anger. We are going now to watch a testimony and we'll be back with you shortly.
One issue that I used to really have was problems sleeping at night. For about 9 years straight, I would literally be having the same nightmare on and off, on and off. And it was a very weird but almost realistic nightmare. So it was like the area I would live in would morph into something different, and then I would end up being chased by black figures, like just running through my area. I would recognize like key spots of, you know, where I lived in this nightmare. And so what would happen, for me to get to sleep, I would be rocking myself back and forth like my head, just so it would rock me to sleep. I couldn't sleep without music and the television on. So for me, it took me a very long time, and then before I knew it, I wouldn't know what time it is and I have to wake up and I'm going to school. And this would happen for on and off 9 years. And for me, it was very difficult because it got to a point where I was so scared to walk through my area. And there was a particular part of this area where in the dream, I would literally be faced with this big black figure and it would chase me all the way back home. So because of this part of the nightmare, I wouldn't be able to go to this particular area in my own area. I wouldn't be able to go through that place. I would take another route, the long way round, just so that I wouldn't go to that area. Even in the dream, it felt so real. It's like I could almost touch myself and feel like, but I would wake up and I would know that, oh, it was just a dream. And it would always end the same way. So for me, it was like, if it's almost kind of repetitive, it must be real. And there was even cases where I would sleepwalk. So I would go to the bathroom, I would turn the tap on, I would knock down the bike in the corridor, I would do many things, but be fully unconscious of what I'm doing. All these things I only knew because my mum would witness me doing it, or she would wake up and she would see that the bathroom had been run. Once, me and my mum, we went on holiday, and we obviously had to share the same bed. And I ended up beating her up in my sleep. So she woke up with scratches all over her, and she was like, "Louise, you just attacked me at night." And I was like, "But I didn't know." I felt so guilty inside of me. I was like, I would never want to hurt my mum, even though we didn't really have a good relationship the way that I wanted it at that time. I never dreamt of even hurting her. So when I saw that, I felt like a monster. But even though it wasn't me, I just felt like a monster. And even at times I would have dreams of like pushing my mum down the stairs. It was terrible. So for me, it was like, I didn't want to sleep. So when I went to university, things got worse because, you know, late night partying and you're up all night or you're studying. So you become restless. And for me, the only time I could sleep was during the day. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't. I'd be up maybe till 6 o'clock knowing that I had lectures, but I couldn't sleep. And it got to a point where once I was so tired that I completely passed out during the day. I missed my lectures, I missed everything, I was gone. To a point where people were so worried they had to break into my room. And they broke into my room and I was still sleeping. And then they woke me up, they were like, "Louise, like, where have you been?" And I was just like, "I've just been sleeping." And for me, that was really one of the worst moments for me because it was like anyone could have just come into my room and attacked me. I was so vulnerable, I didn't even know what to think. Thank goodness it was, you know, people who were actually kind of looking after me in a sense. But for me, that was one of the worst moments, and that attacking my mum at night because, again, I never would have intentionally ever wanted to harm her. But when I saw those cuts, it even hurt me personally, it did. There was nothing to tell me, "Oh, this is not right, this is not normal." It was just normality to me. It's only when I came to the church, I was coming to the Friday meetings where I understood that, okay, these nightmares, these things that I'm doing in my sleep, it's not me. And I started to understand the roots behind it. And it's funny because even as I started attending the Friday meetings, I had these nightmares again, they came up. But the funny thing is I remember the very last time I had this nightmare because I remember I went that night just so kind of angry that all these years I had been experiencing it, and I finally understood what was behind it. So I remember doing like a very strong prayer on me saying, it's not gonna be no more. But that night I had the nightmare, but it ended differently because usually in the nightmare, I would run to my house, I would be dodging all these dark figures, but I would run to my house and the door would not close properly. It wouldn't close. So it was a thing where it was like, I would close the door behind me, but you could see outside. It was very strange. But this very last nightmare, I'll never forget, the door closed. And for me, it was like I woke up believing that I had been set free. I knew that that was the last time I was gonna have that nightmare, and I didn't have it again. I didn't have it again. So from then, I started to have more peaceful sleeps. I didn't have to rock myself. Even now, I'm at a point where if the light is on, I'm like, turn it off. Like, trust me, it doesn't take long for me to sleep at all. I sleep peacefully and probably sleep too much sometimes, but honestly, I don't have no more nightmares. I don't sleepwalk. I don't attack people in my sleep. I'm not scared to go through that area. I'm free, so yeah.
What an amazing testimony. One more story that proves the power of faith. One more story that shows the evidence of the power of faith.
Yeah.
And faith is available to anyone. It doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter your beliefs. It doesn't matter whether you are a religious person or not, whether you go to a church or not. Faith is available to you, my friend. And if you listen to what we have to say here carefully, and you seek help, faith may help you solve your problems.
And you know, many people, they says, I am facing anger problem, or I'm going through maybe any other problems. But a person says, what should I do? In our opinion, is faith. There's no other way to solve a problem but faith. As you said, you can't guarantee that it will solve the person's problem, but what we use is faith. It's the same thing you use, Pastor Douglas.
Absolutely, and you know what? You can't argue against a fact, can you?
No.
You can argue against a theory, but how can you argue against a fact? And this is what we show here in this program. We show lots of testimonies, people whose lives have been utterly transformed. For example, we are going to be talking to our guest of tonight's show shortly. And this young man, Ricky, he's got an intriguing, powerful story to share with you. Ricky could not control his anger. He found it extremely difficult, to have this anger management. However, when Ricky learned about the power of faith, now Ricky is in total control of anger. Anger no longer controls him, but it's the other way around. So, if you want to watch one of our previous episodes, you can go to our YouTube channel and then you just search there for Finding Answers. You are going to come across our YouTube channel, subscribe to it, and you'll be able to visualize the previous episodes in full HD quality. You can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Finding Answers and you're going to come across our page. Okay, now, still talking about the matter of anger. Okay, we got here a few more statistics to share with the viewer. For instance, 64% of Britons working in an office have office rage. Wow, 64% of Britons that work in that's more than half, the figure. For instance, 38% of men are unhappy at work. 20% of nurses have been attacked at work. Up to 60% of all absences from work are caused by stress. 33% of Britons are not on speaking terms with their neighbors. So you see, all problems related to anger. Anger is the taproot of problems. And because of anger, a lot of people lost their marriage.
Yeah.
They lost their job. For instance, how many people who are watching me now, perhaps you are watching me now and you've got an issue with your anger, and because of your anger you lost your job.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe the boss just said something simple.
Yeah.
And because of that anger problem, the person exploded. And the boss says, you will not stay here
I'll
anymore.
be honest with you, I've seen this myself.
Yeah.
Where that was many, many years ago, where, one of my work colleagues was there, and the boss obviously had to be a bit firm on him, and the boss was right, and then he said, you know what, this is not for me, and he walked off. And then later on, he came back saying, oh, please forgive me, I was just out of my mind. Too late, mate, you just lost your job. That's it. You see, anger is a very dangerous emotion, Pastor Neil.
And sometimes when the person becomes angry, it's like the person's mind is blocked. When a person is unconscious, how many people says, did I do that? Yes, you did this. But they did out of anger. They didn't know how to control their anger at that moment. And that's what we want to tell you in this evening, that you can overcome if you want. We are not saying that what we are telling you is going to work for you. No, I'm not guaranteed that. But everything depends on you. Do you want to change? Stay tuned, continue watching, and you are going to see what Ricky will say, how he overcame his anger problem. Pastor Douglas, many people right now, they are watching and they wonder, what should I do? What should they do?
So we are going to go now to a short break and we'll be back with you shortly.
pushing me for the rest of the week. So it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
Welcome back to Find the Answers. Tonight here with us is Ricky. How are you, Ricky?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Ricky is our guest of tonight's show, and since we've been talking about the matter of anger, how people find it extremely difficult to control their anger, especially here in a country, you know, like the UK, where we've got over 65 million people. It's a lot of people, and we, you know, as we previously saw, you know, in the previous segment, you know that the numbers are quite high when it comes to anger issues. And then obviously when we have anger issues, we have a lot of domestic violence, we have a lot of you know, crimes, and people go to prison because of anger. Ricky, tell us, how was your life before you have discovered the genuine power of faith?
So yes, Douglas, I was someone that was filled with rage, and because of this rage, I was taking it out on on my peers from school, as well as people on the street. And the rage was so bad, the anger was so bad, that one time I even punched my face through a glass window. And yes, I had all these issues with controlling my anger. Also, I had problems at home, which were the reason why my anger, which I had this anger. Things like I was evicted from my house, which led me to live with my family in a place where I was living with other families, so in a shared accommodation. So it was in a bad conditions.
Okay, now, you know, it's very hard to believe that, you know, a gentleman like you used to suffer from anger problems, because you seem like a very, you know, very nice, very, you know, very quiet young man. So I want to understand, where did this issue come from? How, you know, how did you become that, you know, that angry?
So, like, it was different factors that affected it. Things such as, like, my relationship with my dad. He was quite an angry person, and also...
Your dad was an angry person, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was quite angry, yeah. Even with dealing with certain things that I did, he was quite impulsive, quite aggressive.
Just something important here, sorry to interrupt you. You see, Neil,
Yes.
children see, children do.
That's it.
The truth of the matter is the parents play a very, very important role in the upbringing of a child. Because when you are a child, you know nothing, do you?
No.
So then obviously you're growing up, and when you look at your parents and you see them behaving a certain way, you will catch that from your parents. If it's something good, then obviously you're going to get that good,
Exactly.
you know, example from your parents. But if it's something bad, such as, for example, uncontrolled anger, then obviously it's very likely that the child will have problems with anger.
For example, at what age you start to become angry?
To be honest, from a very, very young age, you could already
More or
see the
less.
signs. So let's say, even from 3 years old, when I was with young kids, I was there hitting people, showing aggressive signs when getting angry, let's say, smashing chairs, things like that.
You see, Douglas, so he started from young because it's something that he saw. So it was like a seed planted in him. So if it's good for my father, so it will be good for me also.
So you grew up watching your dad being very, very angry.
Yes.
Okay, so then what happened? How did you start realizing that you did have this problem with not controlling your anger? When did you realize that you start lashing out at people?
So of course, when I got to secondary school, the anger was just, it kept on growing. So I tried to take steps in order to fix it. Like someone told me to go to a boxing class. So I started to do boxing, but even that wasn't fixing it. So I started seeing myself totally losing control of myself in the streets when I see people. Let's say a simple look will get me to act in an aggressive way to start a fight. So that's when I saw this is not something normal, and this is not something that I want to have for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever get yourself into trouble because of this anger?
Yes, many things I did that I regret now because of my anger.
Give me an example.
So things as getting angry towards teachers, causing me to have, because like in school, you would, let's say if you did something such as getting angry, you would get taken to a place where you would have to miss lessons, and basically you just miss out on getting an education, but as well finding myself having problems outside.
Okay, did your teacher speak to your parents about your behavior?
Yes, quite a few times, yes.
And what did your parents do?
So of course they tried to reason with me. Even my daddy started to see that his behavior towards me kind of had to change. So he tried his best to kind of better the way he disciplined me. So yes. Okay,
so, and then when your parents would talk to you about, this anger problem, and they would give you that lecture, they would make a point and say, you need to stop being angry. How would they address this to you? In a nice, polite way, or sometimes they would just, lose their temper and become aggressive towards you?
So yes, like I was saying, they tried to do it in a nice, polite way, but it wasn't all the time. Sometimes, to be honest, it was quite a very aggressive way that they would respond, which, to be honest, it really didn't help, because at the time I needed someone that could understand what I was going through and that could give me some sort of guidance.
And your parents didn't seem to understand at the time?
No.
This is another important point, which I think it's very important to speak to the viewer about it. You see, a lot of parents, when they see their child misbehaving, they get the kid and say, listen, you gotta stop this, you are doing wrong, you're bringing shame to the family. And then they raise, their tone of voice, and they speak with, their authority, like that, that sheer dictator. It doesn't work.
No.
Because if we want to correct somebody, there is no point of raising our voice.
No.
We need to make the person understand that what they're doing is wrong. And if they carry on doing it, it will have bad consequences in the future. And that's what many parents don't do.
And Douglas, it's like this. Many people, when they see the signs of the anger, and maybe you that you're watching now, you have been seeing signs that your husband is getting hungry, your son is getting hungry, your daughter, she's not the same. But maybe you are just brushing it aside and says it's normal. If other people, they are angry, so it's nothing if my family, they're like that also. But it's not something to brush aside, because anger is like a seed, and it grows.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why there are many people throughout the years, they become worse. The way they used to be last year, the following year, this year, they are worse. And as time goes by, the anger, it grows. And that's what has been creating many problems. For example, a person that is angry, if you just step on the toe of the person, because of that anger problem, is a fight. But if I could control my anger, I would say, no, it's not a problem. But because of my anger pushes me, I must always defend. I must always be on the self-defense. I must always put out. I must always show what is inside of me. Because the anger, it has a, how would you say, it's like the bomb that has a detonator. That's how the anger is.
A ticking bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah. You previously mentioned, whilst we were talking, prior to the comments of the show, that anger was not the only problem you used to have. but you also had some addictive manners. Do you want to talk about this?
Oh yes. So I was actually addicted to pornography, and this was something that I went through because, first of all, it was something that was very put out in the media. It was something that was really exposed to, and it was something that it caused me to have quite a lot of problems. Let's say, like mentally speaking, it would be something that I could not live without of. So I was constantly thinking about it, kind of distorting my mind. So yes, it was an addiction that I was going through quite early on.
Okay, and how did this addiction affect you?
So, like I said, I wouldn't be able to concentrate. Wherever I go, I would see girls, women in a distorted way. So it was just it was polluting my mind quite a lot.
Now I've got a question for you, because some people claim that, you know, when you watch porn or when you masturbate, you know, it brings a sort of relief, right? It's like you relax. Is that true? Because you used to have these two problems, anger and, you know, you used to watch pornography. When you would watch pornography, would that make you feel more relaxed or even more angry?
No, when I watch pornography, because of the guilt that I felt straight after it, it's actually increased my anger, because it was something that I wasn't able to control, but it was bringing guilt at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So that means watching porn does not help control anger. No. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us one thing, Ricky. As far as you can remember, what was the worst moment of your life? That moment that you realized you had to hit rock bottom?
So, let's say it was when I saw myself not developing in any area of my life. Let's say my family, financially speaking, everything was a mess, living in bad conditions. I saw myself not having control over my anger, not having control over my addictions, and seeing my education failing, not having control over anything. So that's when I saw that things had to change. And
that was the lowest moment of your life?
Yes.
That's when the penny dropped?
Yes.
Okay. Well, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We are going to go to a short break now, because when we come back from the break, Ricky is going to resume his story, how he managed to overcome this problem of anger. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Finding Answers. If you want to talk to us about any problem, you can give us a call. Our number is 0207-686-6300. Call us now, and then if you call, you know, someone will talk to you, someone will listen to your problem, someone will pray for you over the phone, and you won't be judged at all. I understand that a lot of people don't feel encouraged to make a phone call because they think, well, if I talk to somebody about my problem, I will be misjudged. Yeah. If I talk to somebody about my problem, what will they think of me? How will I know, or how can I be so sure that, you know, this matter of mine, which is a matter of an extreme confidentiality, will not be, you know, exposed? Yeah. Well, you need to trust us, because we are a very serious channel and we are here to help people. So if you don't want to call, if you want to send an email instead, you can do so. Just write to help@findinganswers.tv and we will reply to your email. Okay? Now, Ricky.
Yes.
Now the public, you know, the general public wants to know about your story. How did your story end? Okay? Or how does your story end, actually? How did your life change?
So, I was invited actually by a member to this place of worship, and what it is that through the guidance that I was given, which was to open up, which I was someone that was very closed. And because I kept things to myself, I kept all the rage within myself, and it kept on growing. And that's why the problem got worse. But when I learned to open up, when I learned to think about the consequences of my anger, that's when I see myself being more having control over my anger and finding peace within myself.
Have you got peace today?
Yes.
How is your life today, Ricky?
So today, I no longer am like overpowered by my anger or by my own emotions. I've learned how to control it. I've learned how to deal with situations better in a way that I wouldn't, like, let's say, make decisions that I would end up regretting.
So today, you know, you're doing well. What have you been doing for a living?
Yes, as well, in terms of, let's say, my finances, my family. Now we live in a 3-bedroom house. We no longer live in those bad conditions that we were living. Also, I'm currently actually doing good in my studies, and I'm looking to find a career as an entrepreneur. I also started my business, and it's looking promising. So,
wow, very good achievements. How old are you?
I'm actually 18.
18, a very, very young man with a prominent future, indeed. Yeah. Now, what sort of advice would you like to give to our viewers? Please, I would like you to look at that camera there. You know, what sort of advice would you like to share with our viewers?
So, to everyone that might be suffering with anger, controlling any emotion, first step is to be open, to be sincere, and also always think about the consequences of your actions. Because when you're angry, most of the time, if not all the times, how are the consequences of when you get angry? Most of the times people feel guilty, they regret what they do. So be open and think.
Very good advice.
Yeah.
Coming from a young man.
Yeah.
It was really good. And that's what faith does, Pastor Dio. Faith makes young people become very wise despite their young age.
Make them to think, and makes them, when they start to be open, then the faith teaches them how to move forward.
Yeah, it's just like you, Dio. Look, you're so young and you are a TV presenter. Okay, we are gonna go now to this segment where we are gonna be answering your questions.
This is our segment, Your Question. You can send any questions you want and we will answer. You can send out help@findinganswers.tv. Pastor Douglas, tonight we have a question here. What's the question tonight, Pastor Douglas?
Yes, we've got a question here from Alan, who lives in Salford. When do you know that God is answering prayers?
Pastor Douglas, is this, Alan, God, you will not see God as I'm looking at Pastor Douglas. You will not see. But you have to, when you pray, you have to pray by faith. And how, as you said, how do I know that God is answering? You have to believe. Because if you don't believe, will the answer comes? No. I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah.
Because many people, they become anxious when they ask for things. And sometimes because they don't see the thing coming at the time that they are looking for it. So the anxiety grows. So Alan, if you want to see God working for you, you ask for something, the thing you have to do is to believe. You have faith, you believe, you have the certainty that is going to happen. Whether it comes in 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, it is going to happen.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, just an additional comment on what you're saying. I think that one of the things that really, helps to the viewer to understand that when they pray, because the question is, okay, how do I know, or when do I know if my prayer has been answered? Obviously, people have this question because, as you said, they can't see God.
Yeah.
They can't physically have an eye-to-eye contact to God. Well, one of the I would say the evidences that shows, that tells you whether or not your prayer has been answered is peace.
Yeah.
Because when you pray fervently, when you pray with certainty, in that moment when you finish your prayer, my friend, you're going to have peace. Even if what you asked for does not necessarily happen at that particular time that you want. Okay? But within you, you won't feel troubled anymore. You won't feel worried anymore. You won't feel anxious anymore.
Yes, the anxiety will not come.
Yeah, God will give you that sense of peace. It's not just a sense, it's actually a real state of, a state of peace where your mind will be at peace, your heart will be at peace, and you will have that profound inner confidence that what you want has already happened, though it still did not become physical.
Yeah.
It did not have, you still do not see the physical form of what you want. But within you, you have the assurance it will happen. It's just a matter of time.
Exactly. Do we have another one here?
Yes, we've got another question that comes from Henry, from Burley. It seems that let me read it again. It seems that there is so much darkness in the world. How can there be a God if this is the case?
Henry, the Bible says, even though we are not speaking about religiosity, the Bible says light and darkness does not mix. They can't be friends. So God, He's this kind of God that He allows people to have free will. So if people want to do the wrong things and create all kinds of darkness, for God, He allows people to choose what they want. So it's not that, like many people says, how can God exist and so many things is going on? But it's not God's choice, it's man's choice. God, He works with those who want to be on the side of the light. And if the person decides not to be on the side of the light, God allows that person to do whatever they want. I don't know if you have a cut on this, Douglas.
Yeah, it's important. People need to understand, the viewer needs to understand that, though God is magnificent and supreme and powerful, He does not impose, He does not interfere with our personal choice. Because that would be very unfair. God, when He created, Adam and Eve, He gave them the freedom of choice.
Yeah.
And then we choose to do whatever we want with our lives. Now, of course, let's go back now to the advice that Ricky gave to the viewers.
Yes.
Ricky said, remember that your actions will always have consequences. So the truth of the matter is, my colleague, what you sow, that's what you're going to reap. For instance, if I now, I'm a young bloke, but I'm careless about my health. I choose, to put illegal substances in my body or substances that are quite harmful. I choose to eat, rubbish all the time. I go to certain places where I know they are not necessarily the best environment to me. As I get older, what do you think will happen? Will my health get better?
No, get worse.
And what is the likelihood that I'll get into trouble? A big one.
Exactly.
the likelihood is bigger. Why? Because, you know, I'm putting myself into certain places which my conscience tells me, hey, don't go there. And the truth is, even people who say, okay, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist. Yes, but even those who don't believe in God at all, they have a conscience. And your conscience tells you what is right, what is wrong. You don't need to be a God's believer. You don't need to go to a church. You don't need to, you know, to claim to be a religious person. You still have a conscience. And your conscience will always tell you what is right, what is wrong.
That's it. That is it. I hope this helps you, Henry. It's a matter of the choice of the person. God will not impose His will on no one, and the person choose which side they want. And that's the reason why the world is like this. So we are going now for a short break. When we come back, we're going to pray for you. Prepare the names of your family members. Prepare, even if you want to prepare a glass of water, because we are going to pray for you to bless you.
Welcome back to Finances. We have just answered your questions, and we also featured in this program the story of Ricky, this young man who struggled a lot with the addiction of pornography. And he also had a serious problem with anger management, where he could not control himself. He would lash out at people, he would pick up a fight, you know, in the streets. He obviously disclosed, he spoke to us about growing up and watching his dad, who also had a very, very short fuse. So, and it's important to pay attention to the details, dear listener, because when a testimony comes here, and you know, when the testimony shares their personal life with you, it's important, you know, to absorb the spirit of the message. What the testimony is trying to pass on to you is that there is hope for you. Even you who lost your marriage because of anger. Perhaps you're watching me now, and you know, because of your anger, because of your bad temperament, you ended up losing your wife. Maybe you lost your kids. You know, your kids have been taken from you, unfortunately, because you know, you couldn't control your anger and you did something very, you know, very, very harmful towards your children. And you keep wondering, oh gosh, if I just could go back, if I could just, you know, go back, I would have done everything differently. If I just had the chance. Well, the good news is you can't go back to the past, that's a fact. But you can fix your present, my friend. And if you fix your present, that will determine what your future will be like. This is it. I will repeat this again. If you fix your present, if you start taking the right course of actions now, in no time, you may see a transformation. And
you know, many times, sorry to cut you.
Go on, feel free to cut me.
Many times it's like this. The person says, I've been having this anger issue for many years. Why now I'm going to change? Why now things with me will change? But if it changed with Ricky, it can change for you. Because what faith does, faith refines the person. As we mentioned, we comment earlier on, the anger, it grows. It's not something that you says, okay, I was angry in 2000 and in 2018, my anger is still on the same level. No. You see sometimes fights happen in the street. It could be avoided. But why is it like that? Because the person is angry. I was I was in the street some times ago, and there was an old man driving. And he stopped at the stoplight. The light came on green, but he delays 3 seconds. And the guy behind, he drove around, stopped the car on the road, and came out to beat. And I could see that he has a problem. That's a hunger problem. Because just delay the green 3 seconds, that doesn't makes me to behave like that. But this is what anger does. It makes the person to behave in a way that is not relevant.
Yeah, and it blinds you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And because of that split second, you know, a lot of people are now behind bars. A lot of people now got a life sentence in prison.
Yeah.
Because of that split second where they couldn't control.
Yeah.
Well, there is hope for you. There is hope for you. That's what the Word of God says. That's not me saying it. I can't guarantee that things are gonna, change for you because I haven't got this power. But you have seen, you have watched all the life-changing stories in this program. And I believe that if you open up and seek help, your faith may help you. So I would like to invite you now to join us, and pray with us. Pastor Neil now is going to say a prayer that may help you.
Prepare now for the moment of prayer. If you would like us to make a prayer concerning your family and loved ones, send your name and prayer request to help@findinganswers.tv.
My Father, day after day, there are many people, they have been losing their lives because of their anger. They have been causing problems because of their anger. Many, my Lord, today, they regret doing what they did in the past. But there's no way, my Lord, to fix it. When I said to fix, if he hits someone, there's no way he can reverse that. He can apologize, he can say, I'm sorry, etc. But my Lord, even though he said sorry, but the anger problem is still there, it will happen again. And that is the reason why, my God, I pray for those who are suffering with anger problem. May you touch this person, my Father, for this person to do, as Ricky says, be open, be sincere, because the action, it comes with a consequence. My Father, I pray also for the family. There are many families that they are broken, many families that they are going through difficult moments. But you that you are watching right now, you are at home. As men of God, we stretch our hands and we bless your home. Receive peace in your home. Receive strength. Receive strength now. Receive togetherness. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, you that you are in the hospital, touch the screen, the device, whatever you are watching from, touch there. And if you are paralytic, stand up and walk. If you are blind, see now. Be healed in your body. In the name of Jesus. My God, there's no higher power than yours. And that is the reason why, my Lord, I determine victory. Those who can't sleep at night, those, my God, they have been stressed out, frustrated, may you strengthen them. In your hands, I present their lives, my Lord. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Be confident, my dear viewer. God has certainly heard your prayer. And the evidence that God has heard your prayer is that right now you are at peace. You are at peace. Anger can no longer control you. Of course, you need to do your part. Because one of the powers that faith gives us is a power called self-control. The ability to control oneself. Yeah. To control what you say, to control where you look at, and especially to control the way you feel towards people. Okay? Don't let anger ruin your life. You've got a brilliant future ahead of you. Think before you take any course of action. Okay? That was a pleasure being with you today. Stay safe.
This program is brought to you by UCKG.